Good evening, viewers. Our top story tonight focuses on Iran's deepening economic turmoil. Inflation has surged beyond 35%, the rial has sharply depreciated, and national output is contracting. These conditions that have pushed the nation into a recession and sparked global concern. To explain how this crisis has unfolded, we will go live to our correspondent in Tehran, Sid.
Yeah, thank you, Satish. Well, the situation here in Iran is quite tense. The United States, as you may have heard, imposed renewed sanctions this year over Iran's nuclear activities. The impact has been severe, and in October, the rial has lost 40% of its value, immediately raising the cost of imported goods. Foreign currency inflows have collapsed, triggering a $15 to $20 billion in cost push inflation. And the CPI also rose to nearly 35.3%, and food prices have skyrocketed to a mere 58%. So, compounding all of this, Iran's oil revenues have fallen 20 to 25%, deepening its fiscal deficit, and the government now faces the impossible task of controlling inflation while still funding essential spending. Back to you, Satish.
Thank you, Sid. Let's break down these effects further.
Yeah, so as import prices rise due to inflation, right, and the weakened rial, the short run aggregate supply curve shifts left. So prices increase, output falls. It's a textbook case of cost push inflation. Additionally, consumers' confidence has collapsed. And according to some experts here in Iran, they have found that the depreciating rial reduces consumption, shifting the aggregate demand curve left and worsening the downturn here in Iran. Additionally, we have to account the running trade deficit Iran has been enduring. Over $2.5 billion, between April and November of this year, which further reduces the net exports. Again, AD shifts left, raising prices and lowering output. Right? So I'll now hand over to my friend who will give you a broader macro picture.
Thank you, Sid. Iran is now facing stagflation, rising prices, falling output, and increasing unemployment. The LRAS remains unchanged because the economy is operating below potential, making the SRAS shock even more damaging. There is also a risk of wage price spiral. As inflation rises, workers demand higher wages, and for that, firms raise prices to compensate, pushing the SRAS left again. Iran is experiencing both high inflation and high unemployment, a break from traditional Phillips curve. This puts enormous pressure on government revenue, deepening the fiscal deficit.
To discuss possible recovery strategies, we turn to Deloitte consultants Kane and Idris. Gentlemen?
Thank you. Iran must begin with supply side reforms. Reducing reliance on oil and imported goods is crucial. Investments in domestic industries, including renewable energy, which Iran aims to expand to 10,000 megawatts by 2026, would shift both the short-run aggregate supply and the long-run aggregate supply to the right, strengthening the long-term growth. In the short run, targeted cash transfers can support low-income households without triggering inflation the way universal subsidies do.
And Iran must modernize its tax system following Laffer curve principles that can increase revenue without discouraging investment, helping the government reduce its deficit without printing more money. Finally, Iran's central bank should adopt careful monetary tightening policy, raising the interest rates that can lower the inflation, attract foreign capital, and help stabilize the rial. This is consistent with the Supreme Leader's warning that the current no war, no peace limbo is damaging the living standards.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's clear that Iran's crisis, driven by sanctions, currency collapse, and widening deficit, has led to severe stagflation. But with targeted fiscal measures, stronger tax systems, supply-side reforms, and cautious monetary tightening, Iran can begin stabilizing prices and rebuilding confidence in the rial. That is all for tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Stay with Sunway News for continued coverage. Good night.